Okay, and we are live. ¿Qué tal, amigos? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with another live stream Thursday evening, 7:35 p.m. Here again to go through some of the main stories that have caught my attention in the press today, to have a look at some comments that have been left on videos recently, and also at the end of this live stream, the last half of the live stream, we'll go into the chat section and check out what is happening there. As usual, the first thing that I will do is put the like icon on the screen. So hit the like icon if you have not done so already. We'll see if we can get up to a decent tally of likes today. And a big thanks to people that have supported the channel recently, whether people have become a Patreon of the channel, whether people have used the super thanks option in the chat section, whatever you have done to support the channel, many thanks for that, as well as people that have bought me a coffee or a beer recently. Now, the first piece of news that we will look at today, controversial because Mr. Sanchez has announced in person to Mr. Zelensky in Kiev that Spain will send 10 Leopard tanks, 4 more than agreed. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez announced on Thursday in Kiev that the number of Leopard tanks that Spain will send to Ukraine will increase from 6 to 10. This is the commitment made by the Spanish leader at a joint press conference with the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, which is being held at a later date for security reasons. Sanchez said that the tanks will be delivered in the coming weeks or months. Yesterday, Wednesday, Defense Minister Margarita Robles announced in Congress that Spain would deliver 6 refurbished Leopard 2A4 tanks to the Ukrainian army. Sanchez also pointed out that he is not against sending planes, but that it is an issue that needs to be discussed with the allies. So, as we can see here, Mr. Sanchez in Ukraine meeting with Mr. Zelensky in person, the anniversary, of course, of when the invasion first took place. We saw Biden there the other day, Sanchez there today, and I'm sure that other European leaders have also visited recently, but Sanchez upping the amount of tanks that the defense minister announced yesterday. So yesterday, the defense minister says 6 tanks are being sent, and today Sanchez says 10 tanks are being sent. So obviously nobody can agree on the quantity of Leopard tanks that Spain is planning to send in the next couple of weeks or couple of months. Not really sure exactly when, but we know how things work. Next piece of news. Spain's tourism sector is off to a strong start this year. Early bookings are picking up and the season is being brought forward. The tourism sector is consolidating the return to normality after the pandemic at the beginning of the year. If in 2022 a large part of travel has already recovered, in recent months there has been a significant improvement in advance bookings, reflecting greater confidence among travellers. Last-minute bookings were prevalent in the pandemic years, and now they are being booked well in advance. This is important both for the traveller and for the organising company, says Carlos Garrido, Spanish president of the Confederation of Travel Agencies. This anticipation in bookings is causing them to be 23% higher than last year at this time of year, according to data from the online platform Destinia. So, the tourism sector, thinking that it's going to be a bumper year this year in Spain for tourism. Last year, I think we saw 71 or 72 million people visit the country, foreign visitors that is. And this year, with advanced bookings, pre-bookings, the sector is optimistic that it's going to be a big year, and I'm sure that lots of people this year are definitely going to travel. Maybe last year a little bit doubtful still. 2021, we know that a lot of people had doubts when it came to traveling, but 2023, I imagine people are going to be traveling with gusto, as they say. Now, like icon back on the screen again quickly. If you haven't hit it yet, please do so. We'll see if we can get up to a decent tally today. 53 at the moment, maybe 100 if we're lucky. So let's see if we can get a decent tally of likes by smashing that like button either on Facebook or on YouTube, depending where you are watching this live stream. Now, an update on the driver's license situation for some British people in this country that have been left stranded, not being able to drive because the two governments in question, the British government and the Spanish government, for some reason, can't come to an agreement. But recently, the British ambassador here in Spain has spoken, trying to relax people that are frustrated about this delay. And he's come out and said on Twitter that an update on driving licenses below. I understand the frustrations of those affected, and I and my team are doing all we can working with Spain to get you back on the roads as soon as possible. And the text in question is, we know those affected by the driving licence situation are very frustrated by delays in final approval of the agreement. Following the approval of Spain's agreement with New Zealand at the Consejo de Ministros yesterday, many of you have been in touch. This morning, we have spoken again to the Spanish government to underline the urgency of the situation for those affected. They assured us that they expect the final steps to be taken within the next few weeks. To clarify, for those asking, New Zealand's agreement has followed a different process which is not comparable. Under the UK-Spain agreement, you will be able to drive again very shortly after approval by the Consejo de Ministros, which, to repeat, we expect to take place within the next few weeks. Blah, 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 goes the UK ambassador here. And as we saw, New Zealand got theirs done like this. But what's going on between Britain and Spain? Obviously some tensions because of other things. I'm not going to say what those other things are, but we can imagine what they are. And New Zealand's managed to seal an agreement in 3 months, apparently, to get New Zealand people able to drive in Spain and exchange their licenses. So good news for Kiwis, bad news for Brits still, because no agreement has been made. But we are assured by the UK ambassador that it's a matter of weeks. But we heard that 1 year ago. Castilla y León are also demanding free trains. Galicia, like Cantabria and Asturias, is 2 years behind schedule in the renewal of the new suburban trains, a delay caused by the poor design of the metric gauge railways known as FEVE. In the community, these trains are the ones that cover the Ferrol-Ribadeo route. That is to say, they operate in the north of the provinces of A Coruña and Lugo. However, unlike Cantabria and Asturias, Galicia has not been compensated by the Ministry of Transport by making this line free of charge for users. This is something that the Xunta is demanding while stressing that it is only asking for equal treatment. So this is fallout from the train fiasco or scandal of a couple of weeks ago when the Spanish government ordered trains for Asturias and Cantabria that were too big to fit in the tunnels, therefore setting the new trains back 2 years. And to compensate users of trains in those two parts of Spain, they've given free transport. But the Galicians and people in Castilla y León are also saying that, hey, we want new trains as well. We've been waiting years for new trains. So give us free transport also. So the Spanish government most likely will have to follow what the Gallegos are asking for there and provide free transport because they want equality. If they get free transport in those other two autonomous communities, why not in the two that also are suffering train delays? So another problem for the Spanish government to deal with the irate autonomous communities. Now the final piece of news, this one here today, see if I can find it. Polar cold returns to Spain, snow from 500 metres and temperatures of up to 10 below zero. The entry of a massive polar air has put 11 autonomous communities in the centre and north of the peninsula on alert on Thursday with the forecast of snowfall at low altitudes from 500 metres above sea level, which could complicate traffic and the intense cold with values of up to 10 degrees below zero in mountain areas. The warnings of the State Meteorological Agency are orange level, major risk in the communities of Aragon, Cantabria, Castilla y León, Castilla-La Mancha, Catalonia, Navarra, Basque Country and La Rioja, and yellow level, risk in Asturias, Galicia and Madrid. Snow accumulations may reach 20 centimetres in 24 hours from 1,300 metres above the sea in the Pyrenees. And I will say that the temperatures here where I am have dropped significantly compared to yesterday, around 20 degrees Celsius yesterday, and I don't think it got above 10 degrees Celsius today, and a cool wind blowing. So some of the country there on alert for snow and polar conditions with that cold wind coming down into Spain. So hopefully we won't be affected for too long by this. Now, time to go into the comments that have been left on videos recently. A fair bit of feedback from the video that I posted yesterday about Murcia, the majority was positive, but one negative comment here from JASL. Walking around a big city really doesn't show all the important sights, especially when you don't know your way around. You missed showing so much. Plenty of Baroque churches, 17th century monasteries, Romea Theatre and its square, important squares such as the Plaza de las Flores, and missed to show the unique, gorgeous cathedral and Palacio Episcopal. Visits should be carefully planned and, if possible, done with a local Spaniard who will show you the highlights. Sorry, not impressed with the video. Now, fortunately, this was the only negative comment because the majority was positive, so that upped my self-esteem. But I'm going to reply to this comment because I don't go to these videos, I don't go to these cities to see every single tourist site. I go to these cities to check them out from a quality of life point of view, to compare it where I am here, and to decide whether or not it would be a decent place for people to visit or people to live. That's the idea of the videos. I'm not going to go to every church in Murcia. There's probably 100 churches in Murcia, and that would be a waste of time. I'm not going to go to every Roman ruin that has been dug up in Murcia because, again, I could spend days looking for them and trying to find them. I go to the center of the city, I walk around, I see if I get bothered by people in the city, I see if I get served well at restaurants and bars, which is what happens, and my reviews are normally based on that. If you want a more in-depth video, then you can tune into Rick Steves or somebody like that, and I'm sure they will show you a more in-depth side of Murcia. But as I said, fortunately most reviews were positive of that video. For example, this one here from Jeff. I lived in Matarón for 7 years and visited Murcia city regularly. Now back in the UK, but so missed the area and so many memories. The time in Spain is the best of my life. Visited towns and cities, including Madrid and Barcelona, but the most beautiful is Valencia, in Jeff's opinion. Making the choice to live in Murcia for the both of us was the correct one. So there we go, some memories coming back to Jeff from the video that I posted, and I'm going to say it again, I enjoyed Murcia, okay? I might not have seen every single plaza or every single flower in the city, but I did enjoy what I saw, and it would be a city that I would go back to in the future. Another comment here from Claire. Very interesting walk, Stuart. Murcia does look like a good place to visit. Also good to know that some hotels are dog-friendly. Very important. And that is often a stumbling block when you go visiting. That fruit and veg look great. We are being rationed over here as far as buying fresh fruit and veg from supermarkets because of short supply from Spain, etc. due to bad weather. Look forward to more travel videos in the future. As it's always good to see what else is around. Thanks, Stuart. This one from Claire. Yeah, Claire, I heard about the shortages in the UK. I heard about it yesterday on the radio. I was listening to a program and they said that the 4 big supermarket chains in the UK, Tesco, I think, and the other 3, don't know what the names are rationing some products, fruit and veg, tomatoes. You can't buy too many tomatoes. Can't buy too many red peppers, can't buy too many green peppers. So what's going on in the UK, I have no idea. But here in Spain, we don't have anything similar to what you are suffering there at the moment. No rationing yet as far as those products are concerned. In fact, I went to a supermarket earlier today and I couldn't believe the amount of tomatoes that were on sale. So hopefully we won't get rationed, but I don't think that will be the case because obviously if we start rationing local products, we're in trouble. But again, when you want fresh produce in a place that can't produce fresh produce, which is basically the problem in the UK, you have to go back to tinned tomatoes like was popular back in the 70s and 80s, then that's the case. But unfortunately, as we saw there in the UK, some rationing going on. So hopefully it won't last for too long. Another comment here from Suzanne. Love your tour and info. Thanks. I just saw on Russell Brand's podcast that Spain has decriminalised, in inverted commas, sex with animals. Is this true? WTF. Yeah, interesting. I had a few people leave comments about this possible decriminalisation of bestiality. Now, to be honest, it's not true. And I'm going to debunk this now with an article that I found. Fact check, no, Spain has not legalised bestiality or decriminalised it. Spain's new animal welfare law was initially controversial as it left out hunting dogs from the reinforced rights the legislation would give a number of species, but it's now making headlines at home and abroad for more bizarre reasons. There are a number of claims being made that the bill spearheaded by far-left social rights minister Ione Belarra decriminalises bestiality. The rumour has been started by some right-wing media sources, such as the online newspaper Libertad Digital, which ran with the headline, Belarra decriminalises bestiality if the animal isn't injured. And as could be expected, the story spread like wildfire on social media. And basically it was picked up by the Minister of Justice in Poland, and he tweeted that Spain wants to ban meat. Spain is also decriminalising bestiality, zoophilia, as they call it here in Spain, and also something related to changing your sex, the new trans law or something like that. And he mentioned that this is the left has gone crazy or something like that. So basically you've got extreme right politics with extreme left politics, and they're all trying to put out headlines out there. The fact of the matter is that Spain, yes, is in the process of changing the animal law, as they call it here, La Ley de Animales or something like that, and there are some important changes to it. Some people wanted more stricter changes to the laws, some people wanted less, of course, which normally happens, but it is yet to pass through the Senate, so it hasn't been approved yet, but people are already starting to interpret what they're reading here. And no, there's no legality when it comes to this type of thing, but there are some changes which are difficult to interpret, and I think that's where the problem lies, and that's what people are picking up on. The wording is not clear, and as we have seen recently with other laws that have been changed in Spain, it can backfire for the government, so they need to be careful passing these laws as to what will happen. But clear as day here, no, Spain has not legalised bestiality or bestiality, which is what the far right is apparently alleging, and of course Vox has also picked up on it and uses any opportunity to attack their enemy. But the answer is clear, no. Pete, my wife and I recently have decided to avoid Spain in our retirement travels as we get the feeling we're not really wanted there, which is a shame. How do you get that feeling, Pete? What leads you to the idea that you are not welcome in Spain? I saw some comments that were left on this comment. One of the things that you mentioned was the ZBEs, the low emission zones. You don't want to be driving in places where there are low emission zones. Well, the fact of the matter is that unless you drive into the center of big cities here in Spain, Madrid or Barcelona, or maybe one or two others, there are no ZBEs yet. There will be in the future, but the idea is not to drive into the old parts of the city to avoid noise pollution and also air pollution and all of those things like that, which Spanish cities are terrible for. Madrid is a terrible city when it comes to air pollution. They want to try to get rid of it. Therefore, park on the outskirts, catch a bus into the city. That's the way to go. Other things. What else? Yeah, some other things that you have read in UK tabloids that are putting you off Spain. Stop reading the tabloids. Spanish people will always welcome the British. They always have, always will. Of course, there are going to be some negative points, of course. Some people are going to be anti-tourist. But in general, Pete, don't let the negative press that you read in places like the United Kingdom put you off coming to this country. That's my advice, okay? I'm not British, but I look British. I travel throughout the country. I don't get any problems at all. You are made to feel welcome. There's always going to be one or two people, of course, but that happens everywhere, okay? So, Pete, please, don't believe the negative propaganda. One here from Marie. Airbnbs kills cities. It's a huge housing plague. That, together with gentrification, largely caused by expat, makes towns financially unbearable to live in for a lot of people. I've stayed in Airbnbs before, but refrain from it now while travelling. I've heard about the lack of noise about vehicles too. We'll get used to that. Look at the amount of people listening to music while partaking in traffic. I'm aware it's bad for visibly impaired though. Yeah, Marie, the Airbnb debate, and I also saw somebody commented on this saying that the original idea of Airbnb was quite good. It allowed people to rent their sofa or their couch out to people that were travelling for a cheaper price than a hotel. But unfortunately, it's been taken over by the corporations, and they have exploited the system of Airbnb. And you get to the extent where international money funds, hedge funds if you like, have invested heavily in this type of property, have put them on market platforms like Airbnb and Booking, and are making an absolute killing. And you're right, they are destroying some important European cities because locals can't rent normally. That's the problem. We saw it the other day in Toledo, something like 17 or 20, I'll say 20, I can't remember the exact figure. It might have been more, it might have been less. Long-term rentals in Toledo, in the old part of Toledo. If you know the city of Toledo, there's an old part and there's a new part, the old historical part. Very few long-term rentals, 400 Airbnbs. That's the problem. So if you want to live and work in Toledo, where do you find a rent? You can't, because they're all short-term rentals. And that's what destroys the city, because people have put their money there as a way of getting a good return, which is what these international funds do. So it's up to politicians to try to regulate that. Good luck. Final comment from Force. Hi, Stuart. Do any of your followers have experience of renting out property in Gibraltar? Many thanks. No idea. I have no idea. I have no idea if Gibraltar even has a buoyant rental market. No idea at all. To be honest, I've never been to Gibraltar, probably never will. But if anybody knows the situation in Gibraltar and can answer the question for Force, please do so in the chat section or in the comment section below the video. All right, that's enough of my ranting and raving for today. Now, I'm going to go into the chat section. Hopefully it's not too controversial in there, and we'll see what's going on. Like button on the screen one more time. If you haven't done it, please hit the like button. We'll see if we can get up to a decent tally, considering that there are 186 people watching this. So hit the like button, please. Now I'm going to change the backdrop. Viewer contribution sent in. This one was sent in from Paul. And it's a picture of Gandia, apparently, down there in the Valencian community. The port of Gandia, I imagine this is. We can see that there's some type of ferry there. And also the buildings on the wharf there. Numbered buildings on the wharf. So thank you very much for sending this one in. And as I said, this has been sent in by Paul. So thank you very much for this, Paul. Paul sent in quite a few pictures, so this is one of those. If you would like to see your picture on the backdrop, the email address is this one here, spainspeaks@gmail.com. Just there, you can see it. So send them in. Don't be shy if you've got a nice picture like this one. Or if you've got a picture of anything that's got to do with Spain, send it in. But make sure, please, that it's the right dimensions, okay? Landscape 16.9, I think, is the key, because otherwise they don't fit on the backdrop well. But this one was sent in perfectly. Thank you very much, Paul. Now into the chat section. Let's see what's going on there. Let's see if there's any activity in the chat section. Okay, I always know when I have to scroll a long way up, there's plenty of talk. Alinda coming in from Mississippi, where it's a warm 27 today. Love the vlog. Thank you very much, Alinda, for tuning in, and glad you liked the content. James coming in from Worcester, the home of sauce, the Worcester sauce, on a nice sunny day. Hello, James. Hope you're well. I think you sent in a photo the other day, which was on the backdrop as well. Andrew coming in from a cold London SE, southeast London, hoping you are well. Cold here as well, Andrew, so not much of a difference. Philip coming in from La Trinidad in Malaga. Pleasant weather today, but English-style weather forecast from Saturday may help to ease the sequía. And also the calima. I imagine that in Malaga is a problem. Not sure, but here in Madrid we've had calima for the last few days. And as I said, I washed my car the other day, and a day later we got a calima. So that was a real pain. James in the chat section, early today. Killian coming in from Dublin, dry and nippy. Away in South Africa the last while I missed. I've been in South Africa, missed a few live streams, going to catch up. Pamela coming in from Los Terreros, San Juan de los Terreros, I think that is. Remy with a Y coming in from a foggy Sant Feliu in Catalonia. Kevin coming in from Martos in Jaén. Regular viewer is Kevin. Unusual to be in Martos. I didn't know that was a popular place for foreign residents like us to end up down there in Jaén. But thanks, Kevin, for your participation in the chat. Elaine coming in from Chatham, another regular viewer, 10 degrees Celsius there. Claire coming in also. I think Claire just left a comment, I think. Maga also in the chat coming in from El Campello down there in the Valencian community as well. Brian coming in from La Marina on the topic of electric hybrids. My hybrid has a safety feature. If anyone walks in the road, the brakes automatically apply. I know it works. I tested it on my wife. Be careful, Brian. Be careful. You don't want to be testing it on your wife. Yeah, a lot of the modern cars have these sensors nowadays. My car has one as well, that if anything gets in front of the car, the brakes slam on and you don't go very far. So it's one of the reasons why insurance for new cars is quite low compared to what it used to be, because of all of the safety features in these cars. Cameras and sensors, like we said, that do stop you should somebody step out in front, which is positive, of course. Debbie coming in from Santa Monica, California. Now, I saw a super chat before. Let's see if I can find it. From Thunderduck, Randy. The Portuguese correspondent is in the chat. 20 euros. Thank you very much, Randy. Very generous. That's 2 bottles of wine that I will invest in for my lunch videos, which this week, unfortunately, I can't do one. I haven't got time. I'm doing a course in the morning, so it's taking up all of my time, so I can't. But as soon as I organise my time, they will. And Randy also says, hola, from a sunny and breezy Lisbon. And I know you guys are enjoying the Portuguese lifestyle there. Fantastic for you guys there is Lisbon. Remy with a Y. Talking about Mr. T. I won't mention the full name, but you can check the chat section out. Daryl's in the chat section, running a few nin. Not sure what that is, Daryl. Running a few minutes late, I suppose. Remy saying it's chilly in the Netherlands. Alan saying that there's a snow blizzard for Southern California down there in San Diego. So be careful, Alan, that you don't get stuck in that blizzard. Richard coming in from North Yorkshire. Another regular viewer is Richard. Good to see. Marianne also coming in from San Diego. Blizzard coming out, Marianne, if you don't know already. What else we got going on here? Let's have a look. Elaine talking about the Trump winery, apparently. Donald Trump is a man of a jack of all trades, yes. Vincent coming in from a coldish but dry Dublin. Hello, Vincent. Nice to see you here. First-time viewer? Not sure. First-time commentator. Grant coming in, regular viewer Grant coming in from a brutally cold Asturias. There we go. That's that cold polar winds, Grant. Unfortunately, that Asturias is no doubt suffering, but luckily you've got free transport. So hop on a train and go somewhere warmer. It won't cost you a cent, if you can get through the tunnels, that is. What else we got going on? Leslie coming in from the UK. What else? Let's have a look if I can see here, if I can find someone here. Jill and Bob coming in from Torrevieja made it for the beginning tonight. I was almost going to call into Torrevieja the other day to check it out, considering that I was in Murcia. And I checked the directions and realised that it's not easy to get to Torrevieja from Murcia. It seemed a little bit far away, so I didn't end up getting there in the end. But I was curious to check out Torrevieja because I've heard some good things and bad things about it, so I wanted to check it out and see what it was like. But I'll save that for my next trip. Jose Antonio coming in from the royal city that is Ciudad Real, bang smack in the centre of Spain, almost the centre. What else we got going on here? Beautiful sunset in Lisbon tonight, says Randy. Yeah, I imagine so, Randy. That's one of the advantages of Portugal, to get those sunsets there over the Atlantic. Mel tried to book a room in May in Benidorm. Tried several hotels, fully booked. Yeah, well, that's what we saw. The pre-bookings are high this year, Mel. So if anybody's planning a trip to Spain, I suggest that you book early, because I reckon it's going to be a busy year, considering that that revenge travel was big last year. Imagine what it's going to be like this year in places like Benidorm. Absolutely. Kirk coming in from southwest Florida. Missing Spain already is Kirk. But Florida, I imagine, compensates in some way, especially the weather, Kirk. But, missing Spain. What else we got going on? Alma coming in from Benihoffa. Another regular viewer is Alma. Diffie Dog coming in from Australia. In fairness, when did New Zealanders get cars? Well, I think a couple of years ago the first car arrived in New Zealand, and they have subsequently taken to the car quite well. Of course, they used to get around on horseback until the late 90s, but I think things have improved down there in New Zealand. A little bit behind the times they are. We've got American correspondent or US correspondent Dave coming in, watching the live stream while enjoying lunch. Salud, with one of those nice Spanish wines, no doubt, Dave, that you're buying there in Florida for the 8 to 16 euro mark, or maybe a Starbucks coffee with olive oil, as you sent me yesterday. Interesting. Killian asking the question, why is the New Zealand license an EU thing, so makes it easier to change in Spain? It could be. I don't know. It could be. But remember that I think a lot of countries have gone unilateral when it comes to the driver's license exchanges with the British. So I think nearly all of the European Union recognise the British license, except Spain and maybe one other country, Italy, I think. Don't quote me on Italy, but I think that's it. But I think these agreements are, I think these are bilateral agreements that don't necessarily include the whole of the European Union. So I know New Zealand has special agreements with France for certain things because of an incident that took place in the 1980s. The French government blew something up in Auckland Harbour, which created tensions between the two governments. And so France and New Zealand have always had a special agreement, so maybe it's a special Spain-New Zealand thing. I'm sure it is. I'm not sure. But I imagine that it is. What else we got going on here? Daryl saying that doesn't think that there's a huge community from New Zealand. Probably not. I haven't met many Kiwis over the journey here. The other YouTuber, of course, can't remember what his name is currently, but he's obviously from New Zealand. I will remember his name, but I can't currently. He's a Kiwi living here, of course. And I imagine there's a few others because, of course, Kiwis are great travellers. They get around the world. All right, good. What else we got going on here? Jose Antonio, What else? Let's see if I can find something here. Frio in Barcelona. Snow coming. Madrid always seems cooler than Seville this time of year. Normally, Randy, that is the case. Yeah, Madrid a little bit cooler, being in the centre. Although it can get cold in Seville. Let's not forget that it can get cold there also. What else we got going on here? Sorry, James is the name of that Kiwi. James is his name. That's right. I should remember that. James, that's right. New Zealander. What else got going on here? Let's have a look. Ed enjoyed the Murcia video. Certainly a place that I must visit. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it in the summer months. Probably March, April, maybe May maximum, because I imagine it would get very hot in Murcia City. And they don't have much of a river there. It's a pretty stagnant river from what I saw. And I imagine it gets very, very hot there, and careful with shade in a city like that as well. But September, October, March, April, best time to visit that city, I would recommend. The women's football, Jimbo saying that Australia won 3-0. Don't know who they beat, but of course it's not the World Cup. It's just the warm-up event, so let's not get too excited. Saw that they beat Spain the other day 3-2, but yeah, we'll keep it under wraps for the time being until the real stuff begins. Murcians make salads with canned tomatoes, unusual considering all of the fresh produce that they have in that part of the world. I've never gone through so many fruit plantations in my life when I went off the main highway down there in Murcia. Incredibly prolific when it comes to fruit and veg growing. I think 30 or 40% I think comes out of Murcia, but very good quality as well. Now I'm going to change the backdrop quickly to this one here that was sent in by a Murcia liver, I think, El Davido. This is a picture of Los Alcazares, I think, down there in Murcia. I hope I have pronounced that correctly. I'm not sure. Alcazares or Alcazares, not sure how you pronounce it, but it is a coastal area down there in Murcia. I'm disappointed that I didn't get to the coast. I would have liked to have checked out the Mar Menor, but next time. I realised that it's not too far from Madrid, so 3.5 hours for you can be down in Murcia, and of course with the new fast train, even quicker. So this one was sent in from El David. Now we'll put the little wrong one. We'll put the little icon, for the email address here. If you've got one to send through, please send it through. Beach shot, city shot, countryside, whatever, send it through. If you've got an interesting picture of Spain, send it through. But if you've got people in the picture, try to blur the faces if you can, because I don't want any fallout from showing people's faces on the backdrop here, which I did have a problem with one of the photos today. It had kids in it, so can't show kids or other people in videos or things like that. What else we got going on? Let's see. Fact check, false, good job, yeah. It's not clear. The law's not clear when it comes to the new animal rights law. The wording's a little bit unclear. That's why people have picked up on that. But, to think that this would happen in modern-day Europe, it's not a reality. But people can interpret what they want. All right, what else we got going on here? Flesh Florida fish on today's menu, says Dave. A type of fish there. Groper, I think that is. I'm not sure. So eating fish and drinking nice white wine, no doubt, there in Florida. What else we got going on here? Let's see if I can find something here quickly. Alan also confirming that there's no tomatoes today. Our farmers have been sold down the river. Well, it's not tomato season in the UK, but no doubt when the weather starts to get a little bit better, the tomatoes will grow. Otherwise, you have to import them. And like I said, I was watching a classic television program a few years ago. One of these British chefs, I can't remember the guy's name, but he was one of these eccentric chefs from the 1970s and 80s. And I remember a lot of the dishes that he used in that series. Can't remember his name, but he always used to drink with a glass of wine. And he always used canned tomatoes in his dishes because obviously fresh tomatoes are not a thing in a lot of places without the greenhouses that we have nowadays. Spain, Morocco are producing tomatoes, 12 months of the year. But other countries, if you don't have those greenhouses set up, a little bit difficult, that's it. Rick Steve is a little awkward though, says Diffie. But he's very popular, is Rick, on the internet with his travel videos, and a lot of other people do very in-depth travel videos. That is true. I thought I saw another super chat. I'll just see if I can find it here quickly. Let me just see. I thought I saw one pop up before. Okay, one here from Marcus. We've got 10 from Marcus, €10 for the upcoming €8 wine guide, which I'm going to do as per your suggestion, Marcus. I'm going to find the best €8 to €9 wines that I've tried, and I'll put them on display. The only problem when you try 5 or 6 wines, you might get a little bit tipsy by the end of the video, but hopefully that won't be the case. Next time I come to Murcia, I can translate. Lived here for 18 years. Language problems in Murcia. The language is a little bit difficult, the way people speak. And a degustation of the Murcia dishes on the channel. Fantastic, Marcus. I'll definitely look you up the next time I hit Murcia, which not sure when it will be, but it is one of those places that I will again visit. And Gino, 50, very generous, Gino. Thank you very much. A bottle of Faustino, the first Gran Reserva for one of the live menu. Well, with 50 Canadian, Gino, your wish is my command. I will specifically buy that bottle of wine, and see what it costs for my lunch video. Thank you very much for your generosity. I can't thank you enough. Thank you very much. Because, as we know, viewer support fundamental for this channel, considering the the revenues that you get otherwise leave a lot to be desired. What else we got going on here? Let's have a look. Plans to move to Portugal, says Ed. Heard a lot about it. Yeah, a lot of people have moved to Portugal recently. It's become the country of choice for a lot of people looking to move out of their country of origin. Portugal has been flavour of the month, absolutely. And as a person that visits Portugal regularly, I can attest to the high quality of life that the country offers. Absolutely. All right, good. What else we got going on here? A lot of feedback about the political parties and the way they are manipulating the media. Everything's clickbait nowadays. They hear something and they tweet something else, and of course it gets picked up by certain parts of the media and everybody thinks that it's happening. Last year they didn't talk about banning meat. The Minister for Consumption, or Consumo as they call it here, suggested people eat less meat in order to change the type of diets. The farming methods could leave a lot to be desired, so that's what he suggested. They didn't suggest banning meat. I mean, let's not get ridiculous, as they're not planning the other thing either. It's just ridiculous to think that it would take place. But as we know, people want to believe what they want to believe, let's be honest. And Russell Brand, for example, I don't know what his purpose is. Is he a comedian? Is he a YouTuber? Is he a conspiracy theorist? I've got no idea with his channel. It's a little bit confusing. He used to have a channel a few years ago called True News, TREW News, and he was very critical of the government in the UK, and I think he even tried to influence the election. Didn't work, but he tried. So I'm not sure what his end game is. Randy asking, British, Stu? No, I'm not British, Randy. I'm from Australia. Can I say Worcestershire? Worcestershire. 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 There we go. I've said it. I think I've said it correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong. All right, what else we got going on here? Let's have a look quickly. We're up to the 40-minute mark, so I'm going to cut the live stream short in a couple of minutes' time. Don't want to go on for too much. Gleeful Kate, we've given up trying to find a decent long-term rental in Galicia. That's the problem, right? Difficult to find these long-term rentals, especially in places where there is a tourism market, because for whatever reason, people have gone into short-term accommodation. Somebody left a comment saying, I have people upstairs, it's a short-term rental, it's an Airbnb, and I prefer it because if you get a bad neighbour, the maximum they're going to be there is for a week, whereas if you get a long-term rental, they could be there for years, and you're stuck with a bad neighbour for years. I don't necessarily agree with that point of view, because the people coming through all the time, I think, would be worse. I would rather try and hope to get a good neighbour for a long period of time, but of course we know that you can be unlucky. But I didn't really agree with that argument put forward, but everybody's entitled to their opinion, of course. YD, the weather's turned chilly in Pontevedra this last week. Yeah, chilly here also, and we saw in Asturias freezing. What else got going on here quickly? Let's see if I can get through this one. Diffie's asking the question if it will be called the Skase visa, referring to the Australian fugitive Christopher Skase. I don't think it's going to be called that, Diffie. It could be, but I don't think. So that's another rumour that we'll put on the back burner. Christopher Skase fled Australia back in the 1980s, I think, with corporate crimes behind him, and went to live in Mallorca, and Australia couldn't get him back. They couldn't get the extradition worked out with Spain, and I think Christopher Skase actually died in Palma de Mallorca, I think. But again, don't quote me on that, as my memory sometimes fails me with these things. Paul coming in from Edinburgh, Scotland. Hello, Paul. Very lovely city is Edinburgh. See if I can get through the chats today. Apparently limited to 3 cucumbers, 3 packs of tomatoes and peppers, etc. We do grow a lot of salad crops, but according to growers today, the electricity is too expensive to use to heat. There we go. That's the problem. So the problem is that they're not growing their own lettuces in the UK because the electricity is too expensive. That's having the secondary effect. And if the imports aren't coming in, then you've got nothing on the shelves. That is the problem. So it's a culmination. It's a series of events, I should say. D asking the question, do Spaniards dislike trees? Playa de Oliva cut down 35 mature trees next to the main road yesterday because the roots of some, or 1 or 2, were making the sidewalk or road uneven. Yeah, a lot of the trees that they've planted around, even where I live here, D, for whatever reason, the roots do seem to affect the sidewalks and the roads. And local councils are fed up of having to repair the roads and the sidewalks, so the easiest alternative is for them to cut down the trees. I don't agree with it, but it's what they do. And in Madrid at the moment, there's a huge controversy because they want to cut down a lot of trees in the city, and maybe that's the reason, but I'm not 100% sure the real reason behind it. But I know there is a problem going on at the moment for cutting down trees. But yeah, D, that's the reason. Duncan saying that I didn't visit the favourite street. Well, I couldn't get everywhere, Duncan. I had to walk around with a dog who every 5 seconds wants to stop and have a sniff. So if I walked around the whole city, it would take me days. But sorry for not getting to your favourite street. What else we got going on here? Let's have a look here quickly if I can get to the bottom of the chat section. It's a long chat section today. James is pointing out that his name is James Blick. Thanks. I remembered the name there. Just escaped me. It escaped me at the moment, but I got through. I remembered it a little while afterwards. Let's have a look. What else we got going on here? Plenty of question here. It was only a joke about New Zealand before, about the cars. There's a rivalry between the two countries, if you haven't realised that already. New Zealanders seem to have a problem with Australians. Australians don't really have a problem with Kiwis. But in New Zealand, the first time that I went to New Zealand, I've been to New Zealand 4 or 5 times, and I remember at the airport I was looking through the souvenir shop, and there were T-shirts that they sold of Kiwis urinating on Australia. So that's what they're selling in the souvenir shops in New Zealand. So you can understand. What else we got going on? Let's have a look here quickly. Somebody's asking me about John Worsfold. I'm not a West Coast Eagles fan, okay, so I won't comment on that. What else we got going on there? Keith Floyd, that was his name. Yes, absolutely. He used to cook with a glass of vino in his hand, and he was pretty sloshed by the time the show came to an end. But he was one of those pioneer chefs in the UK that came up with a lot of French dishes and travelled around Europe, of course, looking for the best cuisines to show the British folk. All right, what else we got going on here? Let's have a look if I can find something here quickly before we go. Let's have a look if I can find something here quickly. Morthia, so glad you got to visit. Thanks. All right, coming to the end. Yeah, we're up to the 46-minute mark. What else we got going on? Let's have a look. Yeah, Dave's drinking Albarino today. Everybody telling me here the chef was Keith Floyd. I think he passed away recently as well, or in the last few years, I think. Belinda's happy. Her Spanish citizenship came through. Fantastic, Belinda. That's great news. I remember you were in Madrid recently, obviously, to get that done. So you are now a citizen of the country. Fantastic. Let's have a look here. And Joe's saying that one of our politicians said she didn't want Brits here in Lanzarote. She has not apologised yet. The idea, Joe, is that they don't want certain types of people, I think. That's the general consensus that I'm picking up on, the general idea that I'm picking up on from various politicians, especially some of the more left-wing political groups, that they don't want a certain type of British tourist, the one that gets drunk at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the afternoon, that walks around with the tat showing, that maybe doesn't put on the full kit when they leave the beach. They like to sit on the bars there and get a bit of sun on the old body. And I think that's what they want to cut down on. They want to try and get rid of that type of tourism, the Magaluf type of tourism, the tourism that goes to the south of the Canaries, to some of those cheaper resorts. That's what some people are complaining about. But for general tourism, British tourism or American tourism or Australian or whatever tourism, people are welcome in this country. But there's a certain tourist that they want to try to limit, and we can see that some places, Mallorca, for example, Ibiza, is moving in that direction. And I've mentioned it on the channel by banning football kits, for example, not allowing people walking around in their Arsenal kit or their Man U kit or their Man City kit and things like that when they're on holidays, because they associate that with a certain type of tourism, Joe. But I'm not sure whether you'll get an apology, but hooligans is the word, saying Randy, that type of tourism, which, as we know, is not a very good tourism visually, especially when Spanish families are having dinner, and a group of drunken people walk past and do whatever they do. It's not a good look. So I imagine that's it. Now, I'm nearly up to 50 minutes, so I've gone on for a long time today. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks for participating in the chat show. Thanks for viewer generosity, Gino, and the other ones, Marcus as well, and Randy. Thank you very much for that. I will buy a bottle of wine to use in the videos that I do. But I'll be back again on Sunday. Hope to see everybody then for another live stream, 7:30 p.m. Have a great day. Hasta luego. Hasta entonces. Adiós. Buenas tardes.